name's Brad, a longtime resident of Oviedo, and I'd like to thank you, first of all, for coming out and meeting us face-to-face with the summit. In the interest of speed and accuracy, I'd like to go ahead and just read my comments, if that's okay with you. Jobs are one of the biggest issues in America, and the H-1B program is costing Americans well over 1 million high-paying jobs. The H-1B visa is intended to allow technically skilled foreigners to fill jobs for which no qualified Americans are available. Currently, 65,000 visas are authorized, but the exceptions drive the number to over 200,000 a year. In 2008, 276,000 visas were issued, and in 2009, over 214,000. Now, the visas are good for 3 years and can be extended to 6 years, which means that at present, over 1.5 million high-paying technical jobs are being filled by foreigners. These are good jobs paying anywhere from $50,000 to more than $100,000 a year. The law requires that before an H-1B worker can be hired or change jobs, the job requirements must be published so qualified Americans can apply. I used to work for a major internet company, and I'd like to tell you how that company worked to avoid hiring Americans. A specialist was hired to teach managers how to skirt the law. She told us to craft the requirements for the job to fit the background of the H-1B worker as closely as possible. If the job required one programming language and the H-1B worker had 3, the job requirement would call for 3. If the H-1B worker had backgrounds in 2 areas and only a background in 1 is required, the requirement called for experience in both areas. Okay? The intent was to exclude as many Americans as possible from meeting the job requirements. Next, the job listings are posted in obscure publications. The smaller the better. It might be placed in the back of a magazine about gardening or model airplanes. Anywhere where the requirement of the publication could be met without actually informing Americans of the job openings. Finally, if someone did happen to see the advertisement and meet all the qualifications, we were told we could withdraw the position, just close it out without hiring anybody, wait a month or 2, and then start the process all over again. This is how the H-1B program works today. More than 1 million jobs are given to foreigners at a time that Americans need jobs. Incidentally, I lost my job to a foreign worker under the H-1B program. I have 3 modest proposals. First, establish a centralized database that lists all H-1B positions online where any American can search the descriptions and apply for jobs. Second, penalize any company that inflates the job description to include elements not required to do the job. And third, reduce the number of H-1B visas and renewals by 50% and limit the loophole hirings to 20,000. This would create, at a minimum, 1 million new high-paying jobs for Americans at no cost to taxpayers. It would also create honesty in the hiring process and punish companies who seek to avoid hiring Americans. I would, hang on just a second. I hold degrees in mathematics and law. I have over 30 years experience in the technical field. I can't find a job in Central Florida. Okay? I could have taken jobs in New York and New Jersey, but I got to believe that there are thousands of jobs right here in Central Florida that could be done by Americans that are being done by foreign workers. I'm willing to work with your office to amend the law to open up over 1 million new jobs for Americans, including thousands of jobs right here in Central Florida. What do you say to my offer?
Ask you to give Sean there the respect. If you don't, can you give it to him?
Sure.
And we'll have someone contact you. How's that?
Okay. Good. Thank
you. My name is Charles Adams. I'm 80 years old. Korean veteran.
Thank you for your service.
Social Security. Why don't we scrap do something else beside that, I have to go to work because I pay $1,400 a month medical. If I'm paying twice of my Social Security tax because I earn over 32 grand a year. Why don't we do away what LBJ put in? Do away with that tax. That'd be a good compromise. Scrap the cap, but do away with the tax that I am paying twice on my Social Security. And the second thing I brought up is that my son graduated as a doctor in electrical engineering here. His class, I'm ashamed that he was the only American in that class. Our kids do not, they want to take MBAs, social studies, instead of going into math and engineering. He went and got a job at the Naval Research Lab. But he was offered a job half as much more again on the outside. And I hear that the government workers make loads of money. And here's my son, who is a doctor in engineering, where union members in the government are making more than he is. And he works for the Navy, he works science for a civilian, but he doesn't make any money. But he loves his job, that's why he's there. But we got to tell our kids to take technical jobs. Don't go, I'm not insulting you. Okay? But we need more American kids to take hard mathematics courses. And that's our problem.
Just in committee and Director Bass was here, and I asked him, if you do away with, would you agree that human space flight, traveling, exploring, that encourages our children to go into the STEM programs, the science, technology, engineering, mathematics? He said yes. I said, so why would you want to scrap that? That's what gets our kids to want to come and get involved. Those things that teach them that what's out there is really craft. They have to just reach for it. So I agree with you. We need to encourage our children as much as possible. Thank you again for your service. My dad was full to
Thank you, Congresswoman, for being here. A couple things. Build the fence. We need a fence on the south border. Thank you for sponsoring HR 25. And third, we can see by your PowerPoint that the government should not be in the entitlement business. It can't run the post office, it can't run cash for clunkers, and it's obvious that we're heading towards a cliff on entitlements. I'm 47 years old. I paid into the system for 30 years. I would like the freedom and the choice to opt out of the Social Security program. You can keep money I put in there, give me half of it back, doesn't matter. But I can invest the tens of thousands of dollars that I would save by not paying into the system more wisely. I can invest it, save it, or spend it more wisely than any government can. So,
thank you. Thank you. That's all right.
Jim Hansberger from Winter Springs. Thank you, Sandy, for being here today. You're a trooper. I'd just like to mention two things. One, there's been a lot of fair tax discussion in this general area, as there has been all over the country, and we certainly congratulate you for sponsoring that bill. That's a very important thing. It's certainly something that could help addressed, it's going to be very difficult to touch that 1.5 trillion, those numbers. But it's certainly a time when there is perhaps the opportunity to touch Social Security, Medicare, and both of them have so much in them that could be addressed. Certainly it's a political situation and issues. Somebody's going to be bothered a bit, but it's something that has to be done. The entitlements have to be addressed. So thank you very much and good luck.
Everything's got to be on the table with the debt that we have in the bathroom. I'm going to tell you, we're going to move quickly if it's all possible. I don't want to shut anybody down, and I will stay here, maybe if we have to, outside, because they have given us, they've been so gracious to give us this room. I don't want to overstay my stay and then them not let me come back. So, all right, let's go one or two on this side, then we'll go back on this side and then back too. So.
Thank you. It's a pretty smart group of people here, and it seems as though most of us have similar thoughts, and we're not unique.
You're not?
And I imagine that many of your colleagues have similar constituencies. But as long as we keep working across purposes, nothing's going to happen. Do you have any thoughts? Is anything being said in Congress about how to unite us?
We are working very closely. Now I'm going to tell you something. I worked in the legislature here in the state of Florida for 8 years, and I worked closely with both Republicans and Democrats. There are some ideological differences that will never be able to be crossed. But the reality of it is, we're all Americans. And what I'm saying today is, we have an issue we are facing, and it's our debt and our deficit. And as Americans, we're going to have to pull together as a team. And it's not going to be easy. You know, people were making all kinds of comments on the floor about programs and this and that. And it's not whether or not the program is good or bad or indifferent. The fact remains, we don't have any money. So as Americans, we're going to have to work together to resolve this issue. Just we're working. We're